All right, 3 minutes past the hour. Hello, everyone. I'm Eric Veliquet. I'm the CEO of the Blockchain Supply Chain Association. Another great session planned for you this morning. Just a bit of housekeeping before we introduce our guests. On the right-hand side of your screen, you will see the questions button. So if you have a question for our guests, please use that instead of the chat, and we will take those at the end. We are recording the session as well, and as always, we'll make that available on our YouTube channel. So without further ado, let's hand this over. Andrea, would you kindly introduce our guest for us, please?
Thanks, Eric. So today, as you said, it's the day of the meeting, and I'm glad to introduce you all to my good friend and colleague, Sunil Sinapati. He's the CEO of this new venture, XDC Trade Network. And this follows up in due time with XDC UK as for the status of the Electronic Trade Document Bill Act, actually now. Now, there was a recent announcement by the XDC Trade Network about pilots in Singapore. And like I said, let's guess the speech by Sunil to hear from him on what's going on. We are all eager to understand the status of digitalization and what's going on in Singapore and globally following the events in September this year. So I'll hand it over to you, Sunil, to illustrate your achievements, talk about them, and go deeper into what's happening as for XDC Trade Network. Stage is yours, my friend, and let us know.
Thank you, Andrea. Thank you, Eric. Thanks for giving me the stage. I'm really happy to be addressing all of you. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I'm sure you all are on different time zone, but thanks for taking the time and joining this session. I have some slides, and I also have later part to do some demo of our solution, which gives you an idea of what we have created. Let me just share my screen. All right. Okay. Let me know, Andrea, if my screen is slides are seen.
I can see slides very clearly, Sunil.
Andrea, you can see my slides?
Yes, I can. Pretty clear.
Okay, I guess everybody is muted. I guess you're able to see my screen now.
Yep. Can you hear me, Sunil?
All right. Yes, I can now. Okay. All right. So first, let me start without taking much time. A bit of a recap. Well, again, one person cannot do justice to what is happening in our space, but we know what are we living with. We are living with paper documents being used still. Percentage can be 99, 98, doesn't matter much. There are tons of paper which is being couriered around. We know it's painful. We're cutting too many trees. It boils down to efficiency of our trade, transparency, lengthy settlement time, which is always painful for doing a trade. And when we are doing trade, then there is trade finance, and then trade finance always becomes expensive because the compliance is always expensive when it is all paper, because papers are very difficult to verify. And then to make the thing worse, we have this number from ADB, which is $2.5 trillion of trade deficit. Now, this is the reality. We want to get away from it. And the world is coming together, right? We see so many positives happening. So what's happening from a positive side? MLETR adopted by 7 countries. 8th country is UK. They signed up as well. So that's very positive. Other countries like Germany, France, US in very advanced stage. A lot happening in Asia, India, China, Japan. Everyone has done pilots. Everyone is seriously considering start using electronic documents. Then we have got many trade bodies. You know, we have ICC, we have C4DTI, we have FIT, we have ITFA. We have got so many. I can't do justice to all, so I have put in few names. Then we have commitment from large carriers, those who have gone on record to say by 2030, we're going to be 100%. Guys, 100%. So now this is our moment. So if these are the developments happening now with legislation coming, so many other countries lining up, what are we doing as an industry coming together to bring solutions which can actually take away these pain which we have to live with right now? So XDC Trade Network is a new company, new fintech. And what we want to bring into the market is ride the wave, which people are creating now by all of us. So I spoke about MLETR. For those of you who don't know much about MLETR, it was adopted in 2017. It is model law on electronic transferable records. Basically, it is an enabler which helps the trade world to start accepting electronic documents. If you have, for some reason, a litigation in a country, you go to jurisdiction to get your support on the paper document. Now, if the country accepts electronic document, you are on the same legal footing. So that's where MLETR becomes a very, very important component. Now, this component can be enabled by blockchain, IoT, smart contracts. There are a lot of new technology available today, which we can use and do MLETR. Now, we also have very interesting development here in Singapore, Trade Trust, which is it's basically a utility which is created by IMDA here in Singapore, which enables you to issue a electronic document, which could be verifiable or transferable, which is all we need in a trade document. Now, this helps you to create, endorse, verify, and transfer the title to someone else. All that can be done on Trade Trust, and Trade Trust conforms to the requirement of MLETR. Now, Trade Trust's initiative is also very well recognized, and many pilots have been done. So now it is time to get going with adopting this. Now, where does XDC Trade Network comes? So we are calling ourselves as one-stop solution for digitalizing trade documents and bringing in new liquidity. So our mission is very simple. We would like to eliminate the challenges the world is seeing now, trying to make it more efficient, bring in more transparency, and ensure that we have a shorter settlement time. And to make it sweeter, access to liquidity. And we are talking about liquidity accessibility, not from the existing source. We are looking at accessibility to liquidity from new liquidity providers. So what XDC has done this July, we have integrated with IMDA's Trade Trust. So XDC Network, those of you who don't know, we are a blockchain EVM compatible layer 1 network, which has been running since 2019. Now, today information, I will have many takeaways for a lot of you. Some of you might be a fintech, some of you might be a liquidity provider, some of you might be a banker, or some of you might be a private fund. There is takeaway for everybody. We all are here to explore, learn, and see how can we collaborate and work together. And XDC is offering that opportunity for all of us to come and work together. The task ahead of us is too big for any one company to do it all. So we need to work together. So in plain, what can XDC Trade Network do today? So currently our product is live. We went live on the 5th of September. We are working on pilots, and we can do these 3-4 functionalities. The first one, to create any trade documents. It can be a verifiable document, or it can be a title document. Then trade participants, those who create this, can actually exchange documents between them. The third, which is very important, use these electronic documents as collateral and avail 100% funding. And everything done, click of a button. electronic. So this way, the settlement time can be reduced to minutes when compared to moving paper from one place to another using courier, and then you know the whole story. So these are the three things available today for anyone wanting to do pilot with us. Now, let me take some time in explaining how exactly the solution works, what are the components, and how we all can participate. My apology, this wordings are a bit small, but I'll explain this in detail so that all of you get an idea what the solution is exactly we are talking about. So if you can see, there are three layers in this diagram. Let's start with the lower one. The lower one is the documentation layer. So this is where documents get created. So our part of solution is we onboard trade participant and allow access to them so that they can use a doc prep application to create trade documents. So if you can read those smaller ones, there is an exporter here in one end, we have an importer in the other end, and then we have carrier, chamber of commerce, any inspecting authorities, or anybody who is creating document. What XDC has done, we have left this documentation layer open for partners to develop, because we strongly believe this is a very heavy lifting part of our solution. Covering exporter importers in any geography, it's a very resource hungry and time consuming activity. So if you are looking at developing a document preparation solution, talk to us. We'll provide you the entire software development kit so that you could develop this piece of solution and start supporting exporter importers of the country where you're operating from. Now, once this layer is created, I will jump one layer and come to the financing layer. And then everything kind of becomes very clear. What happens in a financing layer is the same exporter who created the document, if he is looking for liquidity, what they can do is they can bring in their document on XDC Trade Network platform. They can request for funding. Now here, they provide reference to the document created in the documentation layer. Now this application and this application works very seamlessly. Now all the exporter is doing here is creating a funding request, and liquidity provider are onboarded parties, those who look at these requests, and if they find those requests suitable to their business, they will start funding them. And then the document moves from the exporter side to the liquidity provider, and the capital move from liquidity provider to exporter. Now, second leg could be when the cargo reaches the final consignee's port, documents are required here. All the consignee needs to do is release the money to liquidity provider, and they receive the electronic documents to clear their cargo. So this is how we complete the complete transaction. Now, what does the middle layer do? The middle layer is a compliance and data verification layer. Now, when the documents are presented to the liquidity provider would need to check if those documents are indeed owned by the exporter or the contents of those documents are indeed authentic. The first thing to check would be to go and check if the bill of lading presenting party is indeed the holder of bill of lading. You could verify all the electronic documents because they were in first place created here, and they were all stored in XDC Network through this utility trade trust. So this layer provides you the data verification and authentication. We are also already live with glyph data as one check. We are in process of acquiring more third-party data so that we could do all those sanction checking, compliance checking. We can even go and get ESG data for you. So liquidity provider can be peacefully financing these requests once they get enough information from the verification layer to provide the capital for those right trades. What is very important component of the solution is how do we onboard the borrowers and lenders. Onboarding is planned based on rules of a regulated digital custodian. We work very closely with a Singapore-based digital custodian as of now. We are also onboarding digital custodian in other countries like UK and US. What basically happens is borrowers or lenders, whichever country they're operating, they can be onboarded into one of these central bank regulated digital custodian. Once they are onboarded, they are provided with their login credentials, and then they can sign up to XDC Trade Network and start doing their transaction. So this in nutshell is the complete model of our solution, how it is working. Now, some of you might be keen to know what exactly we did in our pilot. While you might have read the article, maybe I can help to explain so that you understand a bit what exactly was done. So as you all know, an electronic BL is electronic only if it is released from the source, which means when the carrier is given, they have to issue an electronic bill of lading. So in the interest of time, and we had an actual requirement from one shipper who had a paper bill of lading. Now, we were looking at a process where how do we take a paper bill of lading and tokenize that so that we could actually provide capital for that specific real world asset. So the pilot which we did was basically we picked up a trade which is in between. When I say in between, there is a trader who has purchased a goods from someone and he is selling it to somebody else. So all he has is a paper BL. So the paper BL, which had a value of 1.5 million, was actually created again on Trade Trust as electronic bill of lading. And the shipper also provided the PDF copy of the bill of lading as a proof, attaching all the details of that shipment. Now, once that document was created, now this is not a transferable document. It is just a verifiable document, which says BL belongs to the shipper. And there was a supporting documents to say this BL net worth is roughly 1.5 million. What this shipper did, provided that electronic bill of lading to the digital custodian, basically pledging the bill of lading and saying, look, I am depositing this instrument with the custodian. Kindly safekeep this with me, with yourself, and kindly tokenize this and provide me in smaller fractions so that I could get this capital raise based on this. So what basically Propine did using our tokenization platform built by our partner Yoda Plus, they tokenized the entire bill of lading and fractionalized, creating 10 ERC20 tokens. Now these tokens were sent to the exporter. So now the exporter has 10 ERC equivalent value for EBL tokens. What they did now is created a funding request by attaching one token and also attaching the electronic bill of lading, which is now sent to the liquidity provider. Now, what liquidity provider does, they have a look at the EBL. EBL information is coming directly from Trade Trust, where it is kept as a verifiable document. They also get notification from Propine that it is in their safe custody. Now, what happens? They finance based on that one token, and the token value is 150K US. So the token moves from exporter to liquidity provider, and liquidity provider provides the liquidity to exporter. The transit time was just 1 week. and the same exporter wanted to collect the documents so that they can do the next leg of business. So all they did after a week was to return the capital to liquidity provider, and liquidity provider gave back the token to shipper. So now the exporter has got 10 tokens. They return the tokens to Propine. Propine releases the custody of EBL. Now this paper is now ready to go for the next leg. So this was all conducted, and every leg of transaction was just done in 30 days. Imagine the potential here. Whenever the cargo is in transit, documents are with somebody, or documents are moving from one place to another. What if we can tokenize and have it financed? You see, by doing everything electronic, the movement of document can happen in seconds, and thereby we can increase the number of days of financing to any party which is holding that bill of lading or any other instrument which has commercial value. So I'm sure there will be some question around all this. We'll attend to those questions at the end. But this in general gives you an idea. The first layer is basically a documentation layer. This is the layer which is something which we are inviting partners to develop solution for yourself. And if there is no financing involved, then trade participant just can create documents and then send and receive documents with their counterparties. When a solution is developed on our documentation layer, the usage of our network is super fast. We can promise you the fastest transaction speed. We can promise you the lowest gas fee, and we can promise you the integrity of the solution because we are well integrated with Trade Trust. So that's on the documentation layer. Now, financing layer is very easy. When the documents are created here, they can be presented and finance can be availed. Now, what happens when the documents are not created on our network? Now, we have a good news for that as well. As long as you are following a ICC DSI prescribed data set, we will be more than happy to have those documents financed through our liquidity providers. So we are kind of a marketplace where we onboard any borrower and we onboard a set of liquidity provider, those who will have visibility to this document. And this integration is something we can work with your doc solution, whatever you have. So our solution clearly follows the standards given by ICC DSI, making sure that all the format has all the data sets. We have done a few pilots already with them, and we are in process of doing a few more pilots. So talking about pilots, there are multiple exercises going on, and we are open for all types of pilots right now. Okay, now this is my last slide, which just talks about what are the partners we have right now. So we are integrated with the best, which is Trade Trust. We have also integrated with Cliff to make sure that we are able to pick the legal entity identifier. Right now, we do KYC based on MAS, which is a central bank here in Singapore, but in the process of onboarding more digital custodian in other countries. We also have ISO 20022 compliant financial messaging, which will help you to do faster settlement. Settlement process, I'm not discussing that in detail, but we can offer you very fast settlement so that there is no time wasted. But we could use the current Swift rail, or we can use the new rail available in the market today, conforming to ICC DSI. And from a network perspective, we are EVM compatible. So that way we are able to work with any network out there which is EVM compatible, making us to work cross-chain easily. All right. Of course, our trades are backed by insurance, and you can issue and surrender any negotiable instrument on our platform. So the next segment is demo. So let me move to demo and take a breather and see if there are any burning questions.
I don't see any questions in
Eric, do we have any
occasional
question?
Go ahead. You can continue, Sunil. Thank you.
Okay. All right.
Questions,
Okay.
actually, Sunil.
So let me
So go ahead.
start with a demo. So in demo, all right. So I spoke about our demo in two layers. The first layer was creating documents. So now we will talk about how does one go about creating a document. Now the flow we will show you today, I've actually pre-recorded a demo so that it's become easier. I don't have to do a data entry, and it may take a lot of time sometimes. So what we are trying to do now, the flow is very simple. There is a bill of lading getting created by a carrier. Then carrier is sending the bill of lading to shipper. Shipper creates one more document, let's say invoice. Now they have an invoice, which is a verifiable document. They have bill of lading, which is a transferable record, which is a document which title can be transferred. And then these two documents are requested for funding, and the funding guy does verification, and the funding is done. So that's the flow I'm going to show now. All right, let's see how it goes. So there is a easy authentication based on the ID password given. Create a document. And if you see the draw, it says transferable record, bill of lading. So it's very intuitive, very easy to use. Of course, this is the first version. We invite the attention of industry to give us more ideas. How do we create better application with your help? Now, what we have here is, we know carriers have their own application to create bill of lading. And they have two ways of doing it. One, they can use the document layer, which I am doing a demo, is from our partner Yoda Plus. Their product is called DocuTrade. Now, you could either use this product and create the bill of lading directly, or you can continue to create bill of lading in your application. We can do a API connectivity to take the data from EBL system, from BL system to our network to have it registered. So both the options are available. During the setup, we would support you from that aspect so that the whole process is STP. We are looking at a straight through processing. We are not looking at any multiple data entry. So now if you see, all the data entry done here is prescribed by ICC DSI. All this data gets added. We have basically added the data for you so that the bill of lading is good to go. And we even have an option where you can actually upload any supporting document. Could be a packing list which has come from the shipper. You would like to attach here, you can attach that as well. And then just submit. Now, a bill of lading is created. Now, once the bill of lading is created, I'll just show you a small function where bill of lading got created. There is a JSON file. Now, you want to make sure that whatever data we enter, the party name, the bill of lading holder, and things like that, if it is created properly. So this would be the first experience for all of you to see how the document get verified with Trade Trust instantly. So click on the verify document, pick the document we just created. It is saved in a local file now. Pull the document and put it in Trade Trust. Now, if you see, we did a few simple functions. Here, we have embedded the Trade Trust link, but you can actually independently go to a Trade Trust site and verify the document as well, which is already here. All right. Now you can see the document is created right. The rightful owner is ATP International, which is the shipper, and they are the holder of the bill of lading as well. And it is created by the carrier. We have given a carrier, just the carrier name. And the rest of the BL follows. The whole data entry is there. Now the job of That is done. Now we switch the user to a shipper. Now the shipper does, okay, now the new login by the shipper, they logs in and their job is to now, yeah, that's the right profile for an exporter. Again, they also go, look, the screen is all same, all right? Different parties create different type of document. Here, the shipper is creating a verifiable document, which gets verified over a period of time. Now, all they do is select the verified type of document, invoice, continue, there you go. Now, same story here. And shipper might have SAP, Oracle, or any other accounting software. We can actually pull the data from those applications and put it inside. Again, matter of first time setup. Or you could use the format which we have. The format which we have, the data sets required to fill in are again prescribed by ICC DSI. So all the data you see are all by them. We just make sure that we take them so that this data becomes easy for the receiving party to consume and submit. Now, like creating bill of lading, now invoice is also created. Do we do a check? Why not? Let's do a check. Now, same thing, there's a JSON file created. Now that JSON file, we can just go and verify. Pull that verified doc, you can do it here, or you can go to Trade Trust site directly and verify the document. There you go. Pull that invoice, put it here. Of course, it was just created by the shipper, so all the information would be, it's created, issued, has been identified, has not been tampered with, and it has all the information. All right, so now we are done creating document. Okay, now our job will be, document is created, the shipper has an invoice, and he has a bill of lading. And now he's interested in raising some capital. So let's help him with some raising capital. So like I said, these two applications work very much seamlessly. Now the exporter is logging into XDC Trade Network. Very simple process to follow. Create a funding request. And if you can see the screen, all he has to do is attach two documents, bill of lading, invoice. Of course, the provision is there to attach more documents. For the simplicity of demo, we are just attaching two documents. We all have sent email, attached documents. It is just like creating an email editor. Attach an invoice. Now you see the beauty. The system has all the data come in already, because when the invoice was getting made, there were common data which has all come into XDC Trade Network. So most of the data has come in. There is a commodity detail, funding request details. Now we need to put what commodity are we shipping, who is the beneficiary, what type of settlement we want, how much we want to raise, and what is the rate of interest we are willing to provide to the liquidity provider, and we need the money for how long. After that, all you have to do is submit. Now you saw it's very simple. So this is the shipper who is raising this settlement. He wants cash. This is the amount he wants, number of days, and what is the rate of interest he's willing to provide. Now, the job of the borrower or the shipper is done. Now he can have a look at the dashboard. Now look at this. The dashboard gives the funding request is created. Trader is this, and it is from a shipment from Singapore going to UAE. This is the other detail he just entered. As you can see, bill of lading and invoice is also attached. Okay, now exporter has done his job. He has applied for request for capital is done. Now comes the ABC Finance Company, which is a registered liquidity provider on XDC Trade Network. Again, simple login. Once they are in, they look at a funding request. View, same dashboard. In seconds, they can see what is the commodity, what is the corridor, what is the value, and how the settlement is done, and the request is for how many days. Now, there are other functionalities of this application which I'm not showing today, but there are some matching rules. Matching rules basically specifies different type of liquidity provider will have different type of interest. If I am a liquidity provider and I am happy financing grains from Australia to any country, so that's very focused area I want to finance. Or I'm a liquidity provider willing to finance only deals 1 million and above. Or somebody is looking at something else. So depending upon all those criteria given based on this matching rule, whenever a request is put, the matching party will receive the request. So that's how the solution is designed. But in the interest of time, let's present this one request to this liquidity provider, and let's see how he goes about checking and doing the next course of action. So now we have received, he has liked the corridor, what he saw, and he is willing to part with 10,000 for this transaction. So let's see what he's doing next. So there is this bill of lading, which he has. Now he needs to pick it up and go to Trade Trust and do a verification. Now the magic happens. You see, again, for this, the liquidity provider can actually independently take this JSON file, go to Trade Trust and check. While Trade Trust is already embedded here in verified doc tab, but they can go outside and check as well. Now, upon checking, they found all the information consistent. It was indeed created by this carrier and document was issued. There has been no tampered with, and the owner is indeed this exporter who is seeking capital. And they are also the holder of this bill of lading. So that gives them enough confidence that yes, this bill of lading is legit and they can go about financing it. All right. All they have to do now is approve. Upon approval, a notification goes to the requester, which is a shipper. Funding request is approved successfully. And now we log off from here and log in as exporter. Now, when the exporter logs in, he receives a message showing approved. Now, there was only one request created for 10,000, and that is being approved. Now, based on this approval, the role of exporter is to move the title to in the name of the liquidity provider. So now all he has to do is action, transfer, takes a little time, nominate, move the title to the name of, and it is already nominated. Now, once the nomination is done, automatically this message goes to the liquidity provider. Now, how does the liquidity provider know the bill of lading is now in his name? Now, we can do a check even here itself, because I have requested and I have moved the title from the shipper to liquidity provider. Let's check. All we need to do here is pick up the same JSON file, which we have, and go to the verify doc and verify. Now, if you see, the document is no more in the name of exporter. It is already being transferred as a holder. Sorry, this jumped a bit. Let me show you again. If you look at the end part of the demo, the owner has become ABC Finance. So where the title is with the liquidity provider. So this was a short video to show you how a settlement of document for money was completed just in minutes. Okay, this concludes the demo. And now I am ready to take any questions.
Can you hear me, by the way? Can you hear me?
Yes, Andrea, I can hear you.
Perfect. There are a few questions already here in the chat. First one is from our common friend Ayhan Köseoğlu from Turkey. He's asking, can you say XDC Trade Network is complied with ICC URDTT, the uniform rules for digital trade transactions, for those who don't know them?
Yeah, I'm not so sure the compliance part. So what basically is happening here is a digital bill of lading is getting created and is being transferred, and the same information is being stored with the carrier itself. And the information of holdership of information stays in trade trust, which cannot be tampered with. So it is a foolproof solution. Multiple transactions has been done on it, and they have been issued information as compliant with MLETR as well. So that's where our solution comes with all accreditation required to use it for commercial purpose.
Neil, there is another question from an anonymous attendee. How to comply with local personal data protection regulation that requires personal data to stay in country?
Yeah, I get asked a lot. So when we are dealing with digital documents, we are actually releasing the digital information to outside the country. Now, the use of blockchain, there are multiple ways we are dealing with the data. First, your data is not going to one country because blockchain data is stored in multiple blocks. Second, it's not data anymore. It's all hash value. The JSON file stays with you, but what moves around is only the hash value, which is very, very encrypted, very difficult to conclude anything from that data. So countries, those who start accepting electronic documents, in a way, they will also start accepting usage of such digital solutions. Because without that, you won't be able to send data out. If you can't send data out, you won't be able to do transaction. But be rest assured, data, what is going out here in a very secured form, it is being hashed and sent. So it is very, very difficult to tamper or reverse engineer and get the real value out of it. It's very difficult.
Nice. Smell.
But I may just add the good news for any country which has not adopted electronic trade documents yet, they can always transmit the document to a country which is receiving a document. So I was in Turkey for the GTR. I obviously shared with some of the people, those who attended the event, that exporters, those who are exporting to UK or Singapore, by their right, can actually start using a solution like ours and send those electronic documents to India or Singapore. India and sorry, not India, UK and Singapore. They can receive this document and clear the cargo. We could look at doing those trades.
Somehow anticipated question of mine. Thanks, Mihail. You read my mind. So there is another question, by the way, from our colleague Mukua Mogende from Kenya. She's asking, in developing countries, paperwork is so much trusted due to limited tech knowledge. What do you think can be done to improve data sharing trust? questions. Well,
Look, the business is primarily done with documents. And what we are bringing is creating document, bringing multiple party to create these documents so that the verifying party can actually verify who created the document. And then it becomes a bit relieved that the document was actually created by the origin itself. That way, more trust can be brought into the system. See, the use of technology here is very unique. When we are trading with some unknown party and we receive a paper document, we tend to believe if it is signed and sealed, it is an original document. What if this is colored photograph? What if there are multiple copies of it and they are being double financed at multiple places? There's no way to find them out until something blows out. So digital documents are very unique, can be created only once. Of course, somebody can still do a foul play here. That is a willful fraud. But if you really are a genuine trader and want to tell your counterparty that, look, this document was created by 3-4 different entities, those who are all supporting my trade on a trusted solution, and this is how you can verify these documents, that brings enough credibility and trust into trading electronic documents. So I believe it is enough proof is there right now for us to embrace this and do some pilots to see how this goes. And there are enough solutions out there in the market now. We being one, we welcome you to try your pilots with us.
Neil, there's a good question from Sami Busri. You're hinting at ESG and sustainability. So Sami is asking, given the increasing focus on sustainability and carbon emissions reduction, how do you envision the tokenization of bill of lading being integrated into the carbon credit sector? Good question, this one, because it implies many aspects besides simple trade ones.
Yeah, so I would like to take the question in multiple parts. So tokenizing an EBL is what we did in our pilot. So that's very easy. We take the real world asset, we use a custodian to store it, we issue a tokenized form of the BL, and then we finance it. So that's very easy. It's been done already. If somebody is interested, we can do it again. Now, bringing the ESG part. Now, ESG is very, very interesting. And when we come to ESG, what we are doing now is we are in process of getting third-party data from multiple sources. As you know, today, we don't have a single source which can give us all the carbon data. But enough work is already done in this space. So we are going to be subscribing to this third-party data from various ESG data sources. So when an EBL pops up for requesting liquidity, and liquidity provider has a clear condition that I will finance only when the ESG score is 70 to 80%. Now, we have not reached there yet, but we will come up with solution where upon subscribing to this third-party ESG data, we will do a calculation based on the data collected from EBL so that we are able to create a scorecard and present it to the liquidity provider. So it's a work in progress. So I must say that let's tokenize the BL first and finance them. ESG data, as and when it's getting mature, we will address them. But if you already have a solution around ESG, or if you think somebody has, please feel free to connect us. We'll be more than happy to explore this together.
It's a step-by-step progress, I think, side by side, looking at each other's progress, Sonia, that we have to put in place. News from Indonesia, by the way, from our friend Fahmi Montgomery. Fahmi is asking how the financing works if multiple finances involved. Some kind of action mechanism. Is,
very interesting question.
Yep.
Yeah, very interesting question. So I will again go to the tokenization form. You see, if I am let's say I'm a shipper, I have a multi-million dollar or maybe $100 million worth of shipment, which I need financing. Now, what we can do is, this is a big real world asset, which is 100 million. And we may not have one liquidity provider who is looking at addressing this because it's too big. Again, something which we have already done in our pilot, you make 3 parts or 4 parts and then let all the liquidity provider participate in it. So we basically tokenize the real world asset document, which we picked up, title document. And remember, it doesn't have to be a bill of lading. It can be a warehouse. So if you have a stock in warehouse, which is multiple $1 million, and you want to raise capital from it, you could actually create a warehouse receipt and then raise capital out of it. And if the capital required is too big, we need to involve multiple liquidity provider. Look, we are a marketplace. The borrowers can borrow based on the document proving what asset they have. We will present those assets to the liquidity providers. Our empaneled liquidity provider basically have to validate these documents. Once they are satisfied, they will participate and part finance this request. And this is how we'll match a large requirement by multiple liquidity providers.
Thank you, Sunil. Question from Kathy Slider. She's asking, in the demo example, how does the 10,000 bucks get transferred to the exporter? And then how does it get transferred back to the liquidity provider with interest? This it's in on a technical stuff for you, Sunil.
Okay, so in my intro, I was sharing about XDC Trade Network. So our solution is using the latest of the latest technology today. But we are deploying it slowly to make sure that the cross-border trade participants are not jarred by all the options we have. So settlement can be done good old way using the network of SWIFT, which means when the bill of lading is transferred to liquidity provider will wire the instructions to move money $10,000 to the borrower. Both of them are onboarded on a regulated custodian where they have their own accounts. So basically, the money is already parked with the digital custodian. When this transaction of document movement happens, a trigger to wire money also happens simultaneously. We can basically activate that from the application itself. So SWIFT instruction to move money from the lender to borrower can happen this way. Or we can do it on chain. On chain is much easier. We have it today, but we will obviously provide, if the parties are right, that we can do the settlement using stable coin. So we can use USDC or USDT, or we can do FXD, depending upon what stable coin the parties are comfortable with. And this settlement can be done cross-border in seconds. So you see, we have considered all the technology stacks available today. And that's the beauty of working with XDC. We are a company, our network is live since 2019. We have plenty of solution in our ecosystem, which we can bring together to provide such kind of faster settlement.
Thank you, Sunil. One last question I would love you to answer. This also comes from Turkey, from Ayhan Köseoğlu. As far as I know, Trade Trust is a kind of implementing tool of MLETR. So how would the intermediaries like XDC Trade Network will use this option in their financing solution? Just a few words, Sunil. It's not a tool, it's actually rather a framework as per the words you see of Singyon Law and RAN UK. Our common friends, by the way, recently got up with them. And I advise you to stay tuned because on December the 12th, Trade Trust will be here with us talking about this framework. Neil, you can answer.
Yeah, I couldn't make out the question clearly, but just to reiterate how the solution works, creating the document is the only part where trade trusts get used. Once the documents are created using trade trust utility, the financing part is much easier because the documents can be verified on trade trust. So that is how we are. So we are providing multiple things here. First, we have our network, which is integrated with trade trust. Then we are opening the application development to partners. Anybody can develop the application to create documents. So once those documents are created, those documents can be financed on XDC Trade Network. So in a way, we are trying to promote use of digital documents, and we are also providing an extra benefit that if you create these digital documents using our network, your financing is 100% sure because documents are easy to verify, and we will be able to provide you funding once the documents are transferred to the liquidity provider. And if some solution is still, answer is still not very clear, please feel free to connect with me. I'll be more than happy to provide you one-to-one guidance.
I'll let you answer this last question from Bishop Sally, then we can wrap it up. How will the Apothem upgrade that is taking place on November the 13th be benefit for the trade network?
How, sorry, can I see the question? How will
the Apothem upgrade that is taking place on November the 13th?
I'm not sure what exactly is happening on November 13th. So I'm not able to address this question.
I'm not a technical guy. It's Apothem upgrade.
My apologies. I'm not able to address this question because I really don't know what exactly is happening on the 13th of November. So I will have to refer to what's happening and then maybe comment on it.
I think, Eric, maybe you can take the lead into this. Wrap it up.
I believe that it has to do with XDC's 2.0 that's coming up next.
Yeah. Oh, okay. All right. Okay. Yeah, sometimes I lose track of activities happening with XDC. Look, XDC network updates and 2.0. We do a lot of things in XDC network. XDC Trade Network is just one of the dApps. It has absolutely no impact. We are only improving our network with time. So any upgrade coming from XDC is only a good news. We're strengthening fast. We are improving the speed at which the transaction happen on network. So there won't be any impact to any new releases we have from XDC.
Thank you so much. It's time to wrap it up. I guess close the meeting. And thank you so much for being with us today. It was really, really nice, insightful meeting. So I'll hand it over and let Eric wrap it up and give appointment to the next meetings we have in the pipeline. Thanks for joining us, by the way, to all of the attendees, and honored to see you again soon. Eric, stage is yours to close it down.
Well, thank you very much, Sunil. Thank you, Andrea. Very insightful. I'm still amazed by the speed of all these innovations. You know, Sunil, you look like a young guy. I have the gray hair here. You know, I grew up with typewriters a long time ago, but seeing all this digitization is fantastic. So thank you very much, everyone. We hope you enjoyed the session. We did record and we'll make available. If you have any questions, send them over still to us at hello@bsca.global. We'll try to answer those if you had some remaining questions, and send an email in a couple of days with the recording. So thank you very much. Thank you, Sunil. Thank you to our guests. Thank you to our audience for the fantastic questions. So with that, we will close the session.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you all. Bye-bye. Ciao.